A week ago, the world as we knew it came to an end. The deadly disease we called the Black Plague leaked from a science laboratory and rapidly enveloped the entire planet. People would die instantly when they entered the cloud of the disease. In the first few days, millions of lives were lost. By the end of the third day, only a few hundred people had managed to stay alive. I was one of those who had luckily survived. On the fourth day, the nightmare took an even darker turn. Those of us who had survived took refuge in an abandoned military base, only to have hordes of zombified humans start heading towards our base. We had only guns, knives, and a limited amount of ammunition. The zombies began to run towards the base's door, and the door was the only thing separating us from them. I was preparing to fight, but as a young teenager, I wasn't really cut out for battle. Those guarding the door reported that the zombies had entered. I heard someone shout that while the strong should stand against the zombies, others needed to go down into the base's underground. I ran as fast as I could towards the underground of the base. The underground was a series of corridors with mini-rooms at certain intervals. I was scared and didn't know what to do. I tried to control my thoughts when I heard screams and a chilling sound from upstairs. Then, I saw the zombies slowly advancing towards us. The zombies had black skins covered in blood. It was truly like a nightmare. Everyone started running in every direction through the corridors. I ran with a group of people to get even further away from the zombies. I kept running without looking back, but after a while, we were cornered by the zombies and started shooting and stabbing them. Thousands of thoughts were running through my mind. There were too many zombies. I felt something grab my foot and pull me. It was a big, strong-looking, tall man. He and his men took me and a few other young people away from the base. We sped away in an armored van. When I looked back, I saw the base being overrun by zombies. The air inside the tent was thick with despair and fear. Each of us, in our own inner worlds, pondered how this catastrophe would end. At night, even the sound of the wind made us anxious. We stayed awake thinking that the zombies could attack at any moment. One morning, we were awakened by the sound of engines from outside the tent. At first, everyone silently looked at each other, trying to understand whether this noise was friend or foe. A group of armed people approached the tent, but this time they were not zombies. They introduced themselves as the Salvation Union and offered to help us get to a safe zone known as humanity's last stronghold. The Salvation Union was gathering people who were immune to the disease, working to make a new start. Their technology was advanced enough to stop the spread of the disease and halt the zombies. This offer was the first good news we had heard in a long time. The leader of the union, Dr. Alara, explained to us that the disease was actually the result of a type of genetic mutation and that it was a man-made disaster. However, she said that there was an antidote to this mutation, and they were on its trail. Under the protection of the Union, we set out in a convoy. Along the way, we encountered abandoned cities, collapsed bridges, and the remains of people who had lost their lives trying to escape the disease. Each scene laid bare the extent of the disaster. When we arrived at the safe zone, the sight that greeted us revived our hopes. It was a community well protected by high walls, self-sufficient and thriving. People were working, children were playing, and life was continuing, even in the shadow of the apocalypse. Dr. Elara told us that the antidote was stored in a laboratory, but that area was now overrun by zombies. A team was being assembled to retrieve the antidote, and despite my youth, I wanted to be part of this mission. Perhaps this was the step that would change the fate of humanity and end this nightmare. After going through the training of the Salvation Union, our perilous journey to retrieve the antidote began. Each of us was ready to fight for the future of humanity, and I was determined to do everything I could to light a spark in this dark world.